Don't go out and set your goals to own every single thing. It's unimportant. What is important is uninterrupted, continuous use of an asset that creates a great lifestyle for you and a great experience for you. Hi guys, Assalamu alaikum, I hope you're well. Guys, this couple of weeks, I've been watching my little guys, the 4-year-old and the 3-year-old, Junior Zunaid and Zunaid. I've been watching them play around. I've just been observing them. And I've been observing them with great interest to understand how their minds work. And I see them every single day play with these little cars called Hot Wheels. I'm sure you guys know what it is, these little silver steel cars. And then after they do all of that, they're going, jump in the pool, have fun, come out. They're going to play in the park, they come back. And all the time, they're just having a lot of fun and experiencing all these wonderful things, which reminded me and caused me to be watching them for a whole bunch of weeks, and it reminded me about a time in my life in the early 20s when I really spoke about this thing about ownership being for plebs. And I was just thinking about this very carefully and thinking to myself, like, I was driving a Rolls Royce today and with the top down, and I was experiencing and I liked it. And I went out shopping, but I liked more the fact that I went to buy a new cigar, and I'm not propagating smoking, and I enjoyed it. But the issue for me was around experiences, and that versus the ownership of anything that you actually perceivably own. Because when you come into the world, what is it that you come with? A purpose, but you don't know your purpose. So as an entrepreneur, you try and find like an interesting way of capitalizing on a good thought so you make lots of money so you can live a great life. But I don't think that when you make lots of money, the intention is always just to own the asset. It can never be. Because when it comes to more expensive stuff like yachts and planes and going to fancy places all over the world where you can stay in these expensive estates, you don't really need to own it, do you? You go there, you pay a fee, you experience and love the experience with your family, have a great time, take lots of pictures, and then you come back. But as an entrepreneur, because we have this mad, insane drive in us, we want to own everything, we want to control everything in most of the cases, and we want to be ahead of the next man. This is general society. We want to be better than the next man. We want the next man to respect us because we have more. But actually, the reality is you get older, I guess, is you start realizing that the experience with which you are entertained with the asset, whether it's driving a Rolls Royce or Bugatti, or whether it's going to a factory and experiencing how they make the product, it's important to do it with your family, with your friends, so that you get to have that lovely experience. Now, I have a partner and we were chatting about this the other night, and we said, so what do we buy next? And the answer is, I don't know. How's it going to make me feel? Once you bought the Bugatti and the Pagani and all the other things, then you look for bigger, more expensive, more powerful things because it makes you feel successful. I don't know if that's right. What does make you successful is the life that you live, the experiences you have with your children, with your family, with your parents, please God, if they're still alive, the fact that you have great dinners, the fact that you live in a nice home, the fact that you do all of these wonderful things. And people often go towards the issue of, I need to own this. And why do you need to own this? Is because in your mind, you want to leave it to your children. So you say, I buy this house because I want to own the house. I buy the car, I want to own the car. Why? Because I'm going to leave it to my children. And guess what? I'm not living in my great-great-grandfather's house. And you, I'm sure out there, are not living in your grandfather's houses. Which means they didn't leave it to their parents or your grandparents. Which means your parents are definitely not going to leave the house to you. And you guys know you like all these fancy brands with Parada and blah, blah, blah furnishing your houses. So the grandparents' house won't really make sense for you. The point I'm making is, you move with the times, you move with the latest fashion, you want the latest of everything. And you know granddad's house is not like that, because at the time he probably was the same like us, but maybe 50 years has passed. The point I'm making is, you don't really need to own every single asset in order to have the enjoyment of it. And you, without knowing, you rent a jet, as I mentioned before, and you enjoy it, and you love the experience, and you go places, you go with your family. And what difference is it to you if you're going to rent it another time? Or you go and rent a yacht. You don't have to spend $100 million buying a yacht to park it 364 days a year off in the harbor and use it one day a year. And I know I need to take this advice myself, because it's something I'm looking at from an introspective perspective, or I'm looking at from a different perspective into myself and saying, Do I need to have all of these assets? Do my family need to own all of these assets to enjoy them? And the truth of the matter is you don't really need to do that. But you do it because it's a sense of power. It's a sense of I own, you don't, I'm bigger, I'm better. We don't need all of that. But when I looked at the little guys, they made me realize that they enjoyed lunch and it was unimportant and they don't even care whether they own the house that they're living in. They don't care about the little cars they played with 10 minutes later. They loved the experience and they moved on. They went in the swimming pool and they swam and they could have been anywhere, and swimming anywhere, they would have still had a great time because we were there and we watched them. They together, they're having the greatest of fun. And the message to you is sometimes look at the very young kids and learn from their experiences and learn from how they enjoy life. We not only have to look at Elon Musk and everybody else for them to be the ideology behind our thinking. Sometimes we need to take a step back and look at where we come from, how we enjoyed life, what was important to us. A great meal, great family at the table. How much is that worth? You can't price it. Driving in your car with your family versus driving a Bugatti alone. Yeah, I still like driving the Bugatti, but I prefer doing it with my family. The point I'm making is, don't go out and set your goals to own every single thing. It's unimportant. What is important is the uninterrupted, continuous use of an asset that creates a great lifestyle for you and a great experience for you. That's important because I assure you, when you die, and I promise you, when you need to check if I'm wrong, you go walking in the cemetery for 5 minutes and you know there's a complete silence. No one's talking and no one's complaining either. But no one's taking anything with them. So it's important for you to know that the experience that you create for yourself from the earnings that you have is 100 million times more important than owning the asset. In our group, our family owned jets, etc. And I know that they're there for our utilization for business and otherwise. But trust me, we're not flying 365 days a year. And every time those bills come, there's interesting, heated discussions about repair this, don't repair this, maintenance, etc. But does that make such a big difference in our life? I remember when I was a kid, and we used to go on holiday, not a lot, but when we did, it was all about the food. It was all about where we're going. It was all about how much fun we're going to have. Are we going to the beach? Are we going to have fun at the beach? Are we going to buy those pineapples that you put in with the masala on it and all of that? Those are the things I remember. Very rarely do I remember the room we stayed in. Very rarely do I remember the cars we drove in, until I obviously reached 20 or 18. Then everything's about the girls, the cars, the going up. But still not important. It's experience. It's the experience that you derive from these assets are worth, as I said, 1,000,000 times more than owning the asset itself. I'm not saying don't go out there and buy something. I'm not saying don't go out there and don't buy a house. I'm not saying don't own your car. I'm just saying we're living in a time when the retention of cash resources is so important. So many things happen at the end of the day. Why is it not okay for us as entrepreneurs to have a large pile of cash, less amount of assets, and the best experiences with the money that we make? And it's just something I'm thinking about. And maybe you can shed some light. I know when you don't own a Bugatti, you want to own it. I know when you don't own a Porsche, you want to buy it. But once you've done all of those things, perhaps you sit down and you think to yourself, was it really worth me sacrificing 1,000,000 other experiences only for owning that asset? I don't know. It's a journey you have to walk. Anyway, these are my thoughts for today. I hope you have a great weekend. Bye.